All right, guys, how you doing? Welcome back. It's nearly the start of a brand new Premier League season, which means it's time to build my FPL team, my fantasy team. I've done this last few years. You seem to enjoy it. You know that I have a certain approach to these things. I'm a busy man. I run a real football club, unlike you slugs who just do it for fantasy and little Dungeons and Dragons. Nothing against that, by the way. I used to be a big Warhammer guy, but at some point I decided I'm going to play with actual men, real men, but not in that way. Anyway, listen, we're going off piste. Fantasy football is still fun. If you can't do it for real, do it for fantasy. I get it. And we're going to do it here. But my tactic is I do it very laissez-faire. I don't spend a lot of time on it. I just try and go in, go out. You know, I don't want them to get me. One person that they've definitely got, the FPL people have got their hands on, they've got hold of him, is my brother Seb, who is with us right now, live by satellite. He normally joins us in the studio, but he's got a big Wedge Golf channel now with the Sidemen. So we don't get him in here anymore. Is that right, Sebby? How's it all going over there? To be fair, you're doing great stuff.
Yeah, it's going really well, thanks, mate. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's going very, very well indeed. Lots of exciting stuff happening. But listen, FPL has got me by the heartstrings, absolutely. So it's a bit of an annual tradition. I'm ready. Let's jump into it.
It's got to be well over a decade now that you've been into the game, man and boy, over land and sea. But no, do make sure you subscribe, not just to Seb's obviously golf channel. Seb on Golf has been around for a long time, but all the other things he's doing, links in the description. Okay, so this video is sponsored by Fantasy Football Hub. Stay tuned to find out how you can use them to absolutely revolutionize your fantasy team. Let's start by talking about last year. I enjoyed this segment more this time last year because I'd just come off the back of a win in our league, which we take very seriously with, you know, the group of guys we play with. It didn't go as well for me this year. I was kind of bottom of the European spots. Seb smashed it, you won, so I'll give you your flowers, I'll give you your round of applause, Sebby. It's a case of back to business for you, really, isn't it? There was a bit of a blip the year before, now you're back, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, the weirdest thing is that I actually had a fairly decent year, the year that you beat me. And you just had an unbelievable year, right? It was incredible how well you did. So hats off to you. You did ever so well. But yeah, I'm a fairly consistent performer. You know, I like to play the game methodically. I use a bit of data. I do a bit of forward planning. I use the chips very well. And this year in FPL, there's a whole new chip layout. So we'll get into that a little bit later as well.
Yeah, I actually need your advice on that because I actually don't understand that and I haven't really looked into it properly. But I think the way Seb approaches it, generally 9 times out of 10, he will win, I think, because it's a better way to play. I'm not disputing that in terms of winning the game. My way is maybe more conducive to having a life. Anyway, let's take a look at my team. So I've built my team, Seb. I'm going to talk you through it. You give me your notes along the way. There is a few themes to this team, and I'll see if you can pick it up before we get to the end of it, what the theme I've gone with this team is. I'm not saying it's the best team you're ever going to see. I'm saying it's my team, and I think it could do some damage. Starting off in goal, Jordan Pickford. Statistically last year, I think he was the best goalkeeper in terms of clean sheets. Obviously, one thing you expect from Sean Dyche is not to concede a lot of goals. They're not going to necessarily win a lot of games, but they do keep the score low traditionally. And he's cheaper. He's cheaper than some of the other big name goalkeepers. And obviously we're on a budget. Going into the defence, now you might have some interesting names jump out at you here. There's a strategy to it. The 3 that I'm going to probably start, and this could change before the season starts. We've got transfers still to be done. We've got lots of things that can still happen. But I'm looking at Dan Burn. I'm looking at Pedro Porro. And I'm looking at Connor Bradley from Liverpool as my starting 3, with the options of Joachim Anderson from Palace and Valentin, I believe his name is, Barco from Brighton, who's a very cheap 4 mil player, but he also is someone I have a hotspot for. Heartfelt? What's the word?
Wi-Fi hotspot? Yeah, sure.
Soft spot.
You've got a soft spot for.
I share hotspots, Wi-Fi, with Barco regularly. But no, he was really good for me on Football Manager, but generally he was starting to break into the team in Brighton, and my hunch is he could be the next big breakthrough into the team, maybe at left back, maybe somewhere else, who gets more game time than people expect. What are you thinking so far? You're looking at the back 3 and the goalkeeper.
Yeah, don't mind it. Don't mind it. Got a few thoughts and comments, but don't mind it at all. Do you want me to wait till the end and we do the whole thing all together?
Yeah, okay. Well, we've got a bit of an overview there. Yeah. Obviously, Pedro Porro, attacking defender. I expect him to get points. Connor Bradley, if he plays, I think could be really good and not too expensive. Dan Burn. I'll talk you through my logic here. The main thing you're going to see in the team, because it makes more sense to talk about it. I'm basically not, where possible, I've not started the season with anyone who played in the tournaments this summer. So obviously they join pre-season later and they're less likely to start the season. It could happen, but they're less likely to. And what I've tried to do is find a nice middle ground where I've got players that are still going to stay in the team, hopefully, post other players returning. But Jordan Pickford, I believe, is the only exception to this rule in my team, who obviously did play the length of the whole of the Euros with England, but I still think he'll start the season with Everton. It's a bit of a gamble maybe because my other substitute keeper is less likely to play. My substitute keeper is Turner from Nottingham Forest, again cheap. Don't expect him to play. So as you go through the team now, you'll see that pattern unfold. So midfield, we've got Souček from West Ham.
That's smart.
I'm not one of these guys that picks West Ham players. I don't like picking players from teams I support. I think it's double jeopardy. But he was a good price point for me, so I've stuck him in there. He could leave, by the way, so if he does leave, I'll take him out. And Nkunku, couple of thinkings here. No, Chelsea have a tough start against Man City. Cole Palmer, too expensive for me this year. Also, is he undervalued in terms of, because he missed last year for injury, could he have a good start, has pre-season behind him, does some damage? I don't generally want Chelsea players in this team because I still don't know what to expect from them. And I'm not happy about this one, but I'm going with him for now. Ødegaard, didn't play in the summer. We know what he can do. He'd be a good pick in any team, regardless of whether he'd been in a tournament. But I expect him to start firing for Arsenal. I hope that's the case. And Mo Salah, another Liverpool player I've gone with. He's going to captain me in his first game against Ipswich away. Liverpool's a really interesting one for me because we don't really know what to expect from Arne Slot. We know it's going to be a bit more of a possession-based game than Jurgen Klopp played, and there could be an adaptation process. What speaks volumes so far is he's literally brought no one in so far, and also we know who the favourites are there. We know Salah's a big-name player, big FPL player as well. Is he at the height of his powers? Maybe not. I mean, as I'm sure you'll go over, Seb, the big thing this year is like whether you go Haaland or not, because he's so expensive, right? 15 mil. And, that was for me, like if you don't go Haaland, it opens up your whole rest of your team. But obviously you're missing out on the potential goal fest that is Erling Haaland. So spoiler alert, I have gone Haaland up front, along with Isaac from Newcastle and Gabriel Jesus, which was a late thought for me. I was actually going to go with Chris Wood from Nottingham Forest, but I've changed it to Gabriel Jesus. And the last player on the bench is Harry Winks, obviously very highly thought of at Leicester, as part of their promotion campaign. But again, cheap, don't expect him to play. So before you just rip me to shreds, I'm sure there's lots of glaring errors in there, as usually is. My main thought process is, yes, I went Haaland because, well, he didn't play in the summer. Same logic I've gone with throughout the team. I think City could start very fast. They're looking like Alvarez could move on. As we're recording this, by the way, if I've said anything that's out of date, it's because we're recording it probably a couple of days before you see the video. I think Haaland's Haaland and City are City. He can still score a lot of goals. And just because of all the other players that you can bring in, if you take Haaland out, most of them had a big Euros campaign or maybe a Copa America campaign. So my worry is, I couldn't squeeze him in. So the big absence for me, maybe you could say Son from Spurs. He could have featured, but I feel like Salah could hit the ground running. I feel like Haaland could hit the ground running. The Conor Bradley shout is my hunch. It's a double hunch. One, that Trent doesn't start the season because of the Euros. Two, that he maybe plays as a midfielder in Arne Slot's system, which remains to be seen. But Conor Bradley has been playing fairly well in pre-season. I could live to regret that one. But if he plays, I think he's a point scorer, as he showed in his brief stint in the team last year. So, and then Gabriel Jesus, same principle. He wasn't playing for Brazil in the Copa America, and Havertz had a deep run with Germany. I know he's the focal point of that attack. Jesus would almost certainly be pulled out of that team a few weeks into the season, but could just score a load of goals in the first weekend. What do you think?
Well, first things first, Ben. I think you've definitely been taking a lot of what we discussed in previous years into account, and I think your team's looking pretty good.
Wow, that's the first time you've ever really said that.
I think there are a couple of bits that you can improve quite easily, but yeah, it's probably the best first draft I've ever seen from you, to be honest. So mainly the reason for that is around team structure. You've actually got quite a lot of players that I've had in some of my drafts as well. So we'll just look through it. I think like the big fundamental thing this year is we've got to talk first of all about the chip strategy. So what's changed massively there? There's two fundamental big changes. So number one, you can now roll up to 5 transfers. So previously, if you don't make a transfer, the next week you made 2, but you never make more. That can never have more than 2. You can't keep banking them up. Well, now you can.
That's brand new.
You can roll up to 5 transfers.
I didn't know that.
Which is massive. And the reason it's massive is not just because of that, but even more so, before, if you roll transfers, say you had 2 transfers one week, and then you played the free hit or a wild card, after the free hit or the wild card, you come back and you'd be back to square one. You don't get to keep those banked. Not only can you roll up to 5 now, but they also carry on through a wild card.
Wow.
So basically, a massive change to strategy. So what most people in the FPL community are talking about is that people are planning for an early wild card between week 4 and week 6. You then do your wild card. If you can get your team set up well for the first few weeks based on fixtures, but also set up based on the fact that you might not need to make too many transfers, then what happens is you wild card in game week 4, 5, or 6. You then get to pick all the new team based on what you've learned early part of the season. But then you've got up to 4 or 5 transfers in the bank still to even improve that.
That's mad. That really suits players like me, I think. Obviously you think a lot about these things and how you can game the system, but from a completely different standpoint of someone that might miss 2 weeks in a row of forgetting to do their team, well, at least we now get some transfers on top of the 2 we might already have. So I like that.
And ultimately, this is why I think they've done it. So what FPL tried to do is like, there's the FPL community who are like super busy on planning, making everything dialed in, like really, really want to get into the nitty gritty of it. And as much as like people want FPL, I'm sure want people to play the game properly, what they really want is just loads of people to play the game.
Yeah.
And not everyone's going to be that keen on it. So when they make a rule change like this, it helps both people, because having the ability to forget about it 2-3 weeks later, come back and actually, okay, I've missed a few transfers, but now I've got some extras I can use to fix my team, helps the casual player, but it also helps the keen, engaged player, because they get to plan more and plan these strategies. So it's a really smart move from them, I think. It's going to change the game quite a lot. But because of that, you really want to more than ever plan in such a way. So first things first, most people are going to go with the other big change. Sorry, you know how the bonus point system works. So not everyone knows this, but every game that's ever played in the Premier League for FPL, there are bonus points awarded, and it's a bonus points metric on like a million different data points you use for like successful tackles, successful crosses, shots on target, chances created. Whoever gets the most like background accumulated points can get up to 3 bonus points for their FPL. So say Bruno Fernandes has an amazing game, doesn't actually create an assist, doesn't score a goal, but gets so many chances created, wins so many tackles, gets so many shots on target, he gets a load of BPS points in the background. He might get some bonus points as well as his, say, 2 appearance points that go up when players then get goals and assists and they get bonus on top. That's where you get these mega scores. Well, they've made a change to the BPS system this year, mainly for defenders. Now, when defenders lose their clean sheet, they get minus BPS. So that basically means where Trent and these expensive players like Trippier in the back used to get these mega points, where if they get an assist, they'd almost definitely get the bonus points as well. So you'd get you get their appearance points, their clean sheet points, the assist points, and their bonus points. They're no longer going to get those as easily, because now their little BPS total in the background is going to have points taken off it.
So clean sheets even more important than they were before.
Exactly, and attacking returns don't guarantee. Like if you had a defender that got an assist, highly likely they're going to get bonus as well. Now, not so much. So therefore, the big premium defenders, we're yet to see how it works in practice, but might be less appealing. But looking at the back straight away, Newcastle defence makes a lot of sense. So I'm looking at the early fixtures here. I've just got a little thing open up on my screen.
Yeah, I was going to go Concert. I actually had Concert in until literally an hour ago, and I changed it to Burn, partly because of my Euro strategy. But equally, Newcastle's fixtures aren't too bad. Yeah,
they're not too bad at all. They've traditionally had a decent defence. The one to look out for on the Newcastle side is there are some rumours that Kieran Trippier might go to Saudi. If he does, that makes Livramento a sure starter. He's only 4.5 million and he's very attacking. So
and if he does,
probably Burn is the...
Could Livramento play left back instead of Burn?
Maybe not, because they've got Burn, they've got Hall there, they've got a few other options. So it's not quite as guaranteed. So it's a bit more of a risk. Burn is probably a little bit of a risk as well, but it might be one worth taking. There's also rumours that Mark Gahey's going to go to Newcastle. But anyway, in general, I like that. Pedro Porro might be one that falls victim to this whole bonus points thing I mentioned, because he's very attacking, creates chances. But Spurs just don't keep clean sheets.
Why is Dodgy so cheap, the left back from Spurs? I thought he was one of the favoured sort of left backs in the game, but he seems really cheap.
He's 4.5, isn't he?
Yeah, like he was a big player at the start of last season. I'm sure he was, and no one seems to be picking him either on the sort of team selected percentage thing. I don't get it. Does someone is he injured? Is that something I don't know?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't heard many people pick on him, so it might need one to look into. Your Bradley shout's a very interesting one, because Liverpool have got amazing opening fixtures. Like you could argue some of the best opening fixtures for a good team. Trent has, obviously, your Euro strategy is quite nice. I do think Trent most likely will start still. He hasn't been on their US tour. Bradley has not only been on that tour, but he's been incredible. Some are saying he's been their best player.
That's what I'm saying.
But look, ultimately, I don't think Slot is going to play Trent in midfield. I just don't.
No.
And therefore, I think he's going to be the right back.
Yeah, I think I was playing with Harvey Elliott a lot, because I think he's going to have a really big year in Slot's system. And I think I could still experiment with that. would you say, I think you've made some good points defensively. And listen, I do expect my team to change, to be honest with you. I've got to rush this out a little bit.
Course.
But looking at it again now, I'm worried about the Souček shout as well. I feel like since I've made this team, we've signed another centre midfielder. Souček playing, he's a good point scorer potential. We know what his abilities are, but he actually might not play. So I think I need to change that one.
I think that's one of my strategies, is that you can take a few little punts here and there, but they've got to have real upside.
Yeah.
Souček's a punt really without upside. Like, he's just a punt with downside. He might not play at all. Like, what's Souček? 5.5 million, is he? I haven't actually looked at his price, but he's probably around about that. There's some other players that probably have got more chance of playing and a bit more attacking threat than Souček at 5.5 million, to be honest. Like, I think Hudson-Odoi might be around that sort of price. Yeah. Newcastle have got some, Nottingham Forest got some amazing opening fixtures. He's a really good budget enabler. There's a few others in that bracket as well. Nkunku, you made a great shout. I'm not going to go too much into that. He's brilliant. He's playing almost every minute in pre-season. Chelsea, other than their opening fixture with City, is pretty good. He's probably going to be on pens if Palmer's not on the pitch. Is Palmer going to start straight away? I think probably he will, but if he ever doesn't, Nkunku's going to get pens as well. Very cheap. Can play left, right, cam, striker. I think Nkunku is almost a lock in my draft, to be honest. Salah is the interesting one, like Haaland. A lot of people are either getting one or the other, or they're trying to get both. I like the idea of getting both personally. You do have to make some compromises.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get, for example, Trent, Salah and Haaland into a team. But I like Odegaard. I think he is probably one or two down from the optimum Arsenal picks, which would be Saka, but he's obviously a lot cheaper. So I see him in a lot of people's teams.
Is he like 10 mil?
Saka's 10, I think.
Okay,
yeah.
Yes. They were roughly the same price this time last year, weren't they? I think they were both around 8 this time last year.
Yeah, Saka just has more sort of routes to points, generally more attacking. Jesus, I don't really like as a pick, to be honest. Like, I think he's a pick that could easily go and bang goals in the opening games, but he could just as easily be subbed on or subbed off fairly early. So I think there's other better options around his price, to be honest. Like, Chris Wood's quite popular in a lot of teams. As much as Awoniyi is going to be a threat to him, who's now fit again, and also Forest may be signing another striker, I think he might start. And the fixtures he's got for his price tag, if you're planning that early wildcard anyway, he's someone that, could pay off. And Jesus, I just think, is he definitely going to play? I'm not so sure. So João Pedro is another interesting option at 5.5 million, because he's on, and you've had a bit of a flirt of him before as well.
Yeah, he seems cheap, but the Brighton team's really hard to predict, I find. Obviously, 5 minutes before we recorded this video, I had 3 different players in the team. I had Konsa instead of Burn. I had Chris Wood instead of Gabriel Jesus, but I had Virgil instead of Bradley. And it was the Virgil Netherlands semi-final run in the Euros that made me take Van Dijk out and restructure it a little bit. Maybe I'm overthinking this Euros thing.
I think maybe a little bit. Like, ultimately, we're going to have a lot more friendlies to happen. I don't think Van Dijk's not going to play the opening game. I think he's going to play.
I mean, we're talking. The season starts as we're recording. This season starts in like 8 days, and these guys haven't played a game yet.
Yeah, I just don't see how Van Dijk's not going to start that first game. To be honest, I think he will. Like, I could be proved wrong on that. I think Liverpool, without the fixtures, you'd definitely be more wary of them because it's a new system. I think I can see them conceding against Ipswich, weirdly. I think Portman Road's going to be absolute jumping back in the Premier League for the first time in forever. I think they are going to be absolutely well up for it. Liverpool in a new system, more possession-based, could easily be fragile to start with. But he's got that attacking threat. The fixtures are there. Like, you've got to attack the fixtures for me, especially if you're thinking about an early wild card. So Haaland and I think Isaac has a chance to potentially be the most owned player in FPL. I think he's going to be in the most highly percentage number of teams because Wilson's injured. Newcastle got good fixtures. He's got a pretty good price, got a great opening day fixture. People need that second, slightly cheaper striker to go alongside Haaland.
Yeah,
I think Isaac might end up being one of the most highly owned players in the whole game, to be honest.
Okay, so give me a mark out of 10 for my team. And then also talk to me about this. Is there some sort of, what's the info chip thing? Is there a new chip?
Yeah, there's a new chip. We don't know what it is yet. There's a new chip. They're not going to unveil what it is until January.
I thought you'd know, though, because you're like in the bins, aren't you? You're in the guys who work at FPL. Like, you're in their bins, checking all their letters. So I thought you'd know.
They've been ever so careful with it.
They've been using a shredder.
You know what? There's one big omission that you have got in your team. You haven't got in your team. That's in a lot of people's teams. Although maybe it's because the more recent news about him potentially getting a move might have been it. But Eze is someone who's got unbelievable fixtures to start with. Brentford, West Ham, Chelsea, Leicester are his opening 4 fixtures. He's only 7 million. He absolutely takes everything for Palace. Penalties, free kicks, corners. Elise's gone. And he's almost I don't think I've done a single draft without him in it, to be honest.
So the Elise going is part of my thinking. I think that those two are like so good, but I think they made each other better. And I think they made the Palace team better. The kind of anomaly in that is this new manager, Glasner, and he just seems to be getting them popping, getting the boys playing. So I feel like there's every chance he's going to find someone else to do what Elise did. So yeah, you have given me some food for thought there, and this team is definitely going to change in the next few days for sure. But this is my team as we're recording this, guys. Seba, you got a mark out of 10 for me?
Yes, let's have another look at it in total. So I'm actually going to give this team a pretty solid 7.5 out of 10. I think if he didn't have Souček in it, and it did, I think for me, the big risks for you are Bradley might easily not play, Souček might not play, Jesus might not play, and I think there's better options you could put in that team for there. But other than that, like Barca, you've got on the bench, he's like dream. Estupinian's injured. He's been playing really well. He's very attacking. He's cheap. He ticks a lot of boxes. So one or two changes, I think you'd be getting up there, to be honest, mate. Okay. So I'll give it 7.5 out of 10.
Well, all I'm saying is if Gabriel Jesus doesn't start this season, then Arteta's going to have a mutiny on his hands. Because if I'm Jesus and I'm thinking, I've won this Premier League multiple times, boys. You're desperate to win it, yeah? This guy's been off in Germany, having it off with the German lads, and he's not done any pre-season, and you're still going to start him instead of me. Unless he goes Trossard and a Martinelli combo or whatever, Jesus has to start the season. So maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out.
There is something you can do that you may have never ever done before. It's thanks to the guys at Fantasy Football Hub. They've got basically a huge platform, an app, a website, a membership platform with so much data. It allows you to check all the different fixtures. You get fixture ratings and tickers to see who's got the best fixtures coming up. You get all the goals and assists, or expected goals, expected assists, all the good stuff and stats to help you build your team based on data. They allow you to build drafts and plan your transfers better as well. I've been a member of there for a couple of years now. It's an absolute must-have tool. But they've got this thing where they use AI to actually rate your team. They even have AI suggested transfers. You put your team in each week, and it does it automatically, by the way. You click suggest transfer, and it suggests a transfer based on projected points over those coming weeks. So those of you that are looking for like a bit of software to allow to help you with FPL decisions, or are looking for AI to make them for you, this could be unbelievable. Now, Spencer, I've put your team into the Fantasy Football Hub AI.
Okay.
And they give your team a rating out of 100, and they give it a game week rating out of 100.
Okay.
That's based on how good your team is overall, but how good your team is for this individual beginning game week. So I built your exact team and clicked optimize. First of all, interestingly, they put Gabriel Jesus on the bench. They're saying he shouldn't even start for you if you kept your current squad. They're giving him an expected points total of 0.3 points in the first game against Wolves, which basically means they're saying he ain't going to start, mate.
Interesting.
Right? You'll see on screen now all the different projected points, but your game week rating is 87%, which I don't think is too bad at all.
What's good? What's a good rating?
If you were building an optimum team for one game week, say you were free hitting, you'd probably get between 90 and 95%.
Okay.
So not bad at all. Your team rating's 88%. They're saying that Salah should be your captain. This is a really good tool as well if you're ever thinking about what captaincy you should go for, because it gives you projected points. So Salah's projected to get 7.6 points in this opening game against away to Ipswich. Haaland's projected 7.2. Right, so it's got Harry Winks starting for you instead of Jesus. It's got Bradley getting 0.0. They're not expecting him to start. So you could play around with some transfers to get this better before the game week starts. How cool is that?
Have they factored in the Euros situation though? Has the AI got that good yet? That's my question.
It's pretty good, to be honest. I mean, it does change. What happens is if you're doing this every week like I am, when you go back in to check your team rating or look at potential transfers, if something's happened in the week, like news to an injury, it does change the points projected total. So it does take in a lot of additional values. It's very, very good.
This is what I'm up against, guys. This is the sort of robot software that people like Seb and other people that take FPL more seriously than me are using. And listen, if that's you and you want to get good at FPL and you want to win more than anything, maybe you should get on this. It sounds pretty decent, to be fair. I'm not going in anyone's bins.
Well, hang on, there's one further bit, one last thing. This actually makes it a bit of a joke. They offer a money-back guarantee if you don't win your mini league. So there's a free membership and then the premium membership. If you pay for a premium membership and you don't win your mini league, they give you money back. Mental.
Well, Fantasy Football Hub, they are truly doing the Lord's work there. That is what I would call actually more the dark arts, but they help you win. And if I learn anything from my time as a football owner, I don't know if I've mentioned that, I do own a football club, is that the dark arts pay dividends. You need someone to do the dark arts, and Sebi is very much Professor Snape in this situation, who ends up being a good guy ultimately. So there you go. Sebi, you liked my team. Fantasy Football Hub likes my team. I like my team a little bit. I'm probably going to change it a little bit, but I am going with a few gut things that could be wrong. Ultimately, I have to follow my gut, because I know you're always going to follow the stats, the numbers, the algorithms. I'm never going to do that. So I have to zig when you zag, essentially, and I'm happy with that. I'm always going to be a zigger. Got to be really careful what I say there. But ultimately, let's see what happens. Good luck to you this season. May the best man win. And it's me versus the Matrix. But I am the one. Don't go changing. Get yourself a new hashtag top as well. Pro Direct Sport. Links in the description. They look good.